for that or anything, just message our page and we can get that to you, or reach out to me personally and I'll send that to you. Secondly, I know many of you have been asking about what our plans are as far as reopening, in the sense of being able to gather again publicly, see each other in person. And the elders were discussing that on Monday. We've got some good ideas and some good plans, and we're just praying through what we think will be wise and safe for everybody. But with that, we would like your feedback. And so we've put together a survey that I'm going to be sending out today. That if you can take some time to fill out that survey for us, to give us maybe some of your ideas on what we could do, but also just let us know where you're at. And because ultimately that's what we need to know is kind of where everybody is on this thing, and whether or not they're ready for a public gathering again or not. And so that will be coming out later today, and so just be looking for that. But our word from the Word today is Romans 12, starting in verse 3. For by the grace given to me, I say to everyone among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think with sober judgment, each according to the measure of faith that God has assigned. For as in one body we have many members, and the members do not all have the same function, so we, though many, are one body in Christ, and individually members one of another. So first he starts out there with this kind of warning for us, because it's so easy for us to fall into thinking more highly of ourselves than we ought to. Like this, it basically goes to the original sin in the garden, that was what Eve fell into. Did God really say? Well, actually, he's just trying to hold you back from being fully like him. And so if you do this thing that he said not to do, then you're going to be better off. And that's just a sin of thinking more highly of ourselves than we ought to. And so that's ingrained in all of us. And even when we come to Christ, we still have that sin nature that makes us want to have that kind of comparison and putting ourselves up and building ourselves up over others. But instead, we're to think of ourselves with sober judgment, and each according to the measure of faith that God has assigned. What he's saying is our worth and our ultimate value comes from what God's already done in us. God's grace, his mercy, the faith alive in us, that's from him, and that's where we find our value and worth. And so if we're thinking of ourselves too highly, then we probably need to be reminded of that our ultimate worth comes from him. Then he goes on into, for as in one body we have many members, and the members do not all have the same function. So we, though many, are one body in Christ, and individually members one of another. You see, this is why so many of you are reaching out to me right now saying, when can we come back to church? When can we be back together? Is because this is what we are. We're one body. And in this time where we're separated and not able to be together and not able to experience the different aspects of the body, tomorrow's passage we're going to get into the different gifts. But when we're not able to benefit from what God's doing in someone else's life, then that kind of weakens us and it kind of holds us back. And so that's why I'm glad we've had things like the online prayer gathering. Those have been so encouraging to me, just to get to hear from you and pray with you. But yeah, we're ready for that. We long for that coming back together. And because we're designed to be members one of another. The Christian life is not designed to be lived in a silo by yourself. We're not designed for Christian isolationism. That was never Christ's plan. And so even in this time where we do have to be socially distant, let's find ways that we can be connected to each other and that we can fully express being members one of another. And so maybe today you need to reach out to somebody and say hi. You need to use the gifts that the Lord's put in you and what the Lord's doing in you to encourage somebody else today. I know I've had a lot of that personally, but as the pastor, I kind of feel like I'm the tip of the spear on that kind of thing, where people naturally come to me maybe first. And so I encourage you today to maybe think of others that you can encourage, others that you can uplift today by just a kind word, a thought, reaching out to them, because we are His body. And while we long to come back together, it doesn't change the fact that right now, in this time, this is still true. And so I hope this is encouraging to you. This has been your word from the Word today, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.